What would you do if your neighbor started flying a high-tech drone right in your backyard just to tease your dog? Well, for one woman and her goofy golden retriever, a normal afternoon turned into a massive legal battle. From backyard air battles to fake lawsuits and neighborhood-wide drama, this is the wild story of what happens when tech bro hobbies meet a dog who loves to chew. Grab some popcorn because this neighborhood war is about to go viral. Kelly sat on her back porch, watching her dog, a giant, goofy golden retriever named Buster, sniff around the tall grass. It was a boring Tuesday, the kind of day where the sun feels too hot and nothing ever happens. Buster was not a mean dog, but he was very big and liked to chew on things he was not supposed to have. He had already ruined a pair of sneakers and a couch pillow that month. Kelly was scrolling on her phone, thinking about what to make for dinner, when a loud, buzzing sound filled the air. It sounded like a giant bee, or maybe a lawnmower that was flying. She looked up and saw a small, white drone hovering right over her fence. It was dipping low, almost touching the tops of her bushes. Buster saw it too. His ears flipped up and his tail stopped wagging. To a dog, a drone isn't a cool piece of tech. It's a weird, noisy bird that needs to be caught. The drone belonged to Marcus, the neighbor who lived 3 houses down. Marcus was the kind of guy who had a lot of toys but didn't always know how to use them. He liked to fly his drone over everyone's backyards to take pictures, which made a lot of people in the neighborhood feel weird. Kelly had seen it before, but never this low. The drone zipped left, then right, then suddenly it jerked downward. It hit the branch of an oak tree with a loud crack and tumbled through the leaves, landing right in the middle of Kelly's lawn. Before Kelly could even stand up, Buster was on it. He didn't bark, he just trotted over, picked up the plastic machine in his mouth, and began to crunch. It sounded like someone stepping on a bag of potato chips. Kelly yelled for him to drop it, but Buster thought this was the best game ever. He ran to the far corner of the yard, shaking the drone back and forth. Pieces of white plastic and little wires flew everywhere. By the time Kelly reached him, the drone was a flat, twisted mess of metal and bellaritas. It was totally dead. Kelly felt a pit in her stomach because she knew Marcus was going to be mad, even though he shouldn't have been flying it over her fence anyway. 10 minutes later, there was a loud knock at the front door. It wasn't a nice knock. It was the kind of banging that makes you think the person is trying to break the door down. Kelly opened it to find Marcus standing there, holding his remote control like a weapon. His face was very red and he was breathing hard. He didn't even say hello. He just pointed at the backyard and asked where his equipment was. Kelly tried to be nice. She told him that the drone had crashed in her yard and that Buster had, well, eaten it. She offered to give him the pieces back. Marcus started screaming. He said the drone cost $2,000 and that Kelly had to pay for a new one right now. Kelly was shocked. $2,000 was a lot of money, and she didn't think it was her fault the drone crashed on her property. She told Marcus that he shouldn't have been flying it over her yard in the first place. This made Marcus even angrier. He said he was going to call the police and sue her for every penny she had. He called Buster a dangerous beast and said the dog should be locked up. Kelly felt her face get hot. She wasn't a mean person, but she didn't like being bullied. She told Marcus to get off her porch before she called the police herself. He stomped away, yelling that she would hear from his lawyer. For the next few days, things were quiet, but Kelly felt like she was being watched. Every time she took Buster outside, she looked for the drone or for Marcus. Then she got a letter in the mail. It wasn't from a lawyer, though. It was a bill. Marcus had typed up a fake-looking invoice for the drone, plus emotional stress and loss of work time. The total was now $3,000. He had also written a note saying that if she didn't pay in 48 hours, he would take her to small claims court. Kelly decided she needed help, so she called her friend Sarah, who worked as a secretary for a real law firm. Sarah listened to the whole story and started laughing. She told Kelly that Marcus was the one in trouble, not her. Apparently, there are rules about where you can fly drones, and right over your neighbor's dog's head is usually not allowed. Sarah told Kelly to save the broken pieces of the drone and to check her own security cameras. Kelly remembered she had a camera on the back of her house that recorded the whole thing. When she watched the video, she saw that the drone wasn't just passing through. Marcus had been hovering it right in front of Buster's face, teasing him. The drone didn't just crash. It looked like Marcus lost control because he was trying to annoy the dog. Kelly felt much better after seeing the video. She realized Marcus was trying to trick her into paying for his own mistake. She decided not to pay the bill. Instead, she wrote a short note back to Marcus. She told him she had video proof of him harassing her dog, and that if he didn't stop bothering her, she would report him to the FAA, which is the big government group that makes rules for planes and drones. She thought that would be the end of it. She thought Marcus would see he was wrong and leave her alone. But she didn't know how stubborn and mean Marcus could really be. The next morning, Kelly woke up to find a giant sign stuck in the grass near the sidewalk. It was a piece of white poster board with big, messy black letters. It said, "Beware, dog at this house eats property. Neighbor refuses to pay." Kelly couldn't believe it. It was so childish. People walking their dogs or driving to work were all stopping to look at the sign. She went outside and pulled the sign out of the ground, but Marcus was standing in his driveway watching her. He had a smug look on his face. He yelled out that he had 10 more signs, and he would put them up every single day until he got his money. Kelly went back inside, feeling like she was in a bad movie. She didn't want to be the drama house of the neighborhood, but Marcus was making it impossible to stay quiet. She decided to go to the police station just to see what they would say. The officer at the front desk, a tall man named Officer Miller, listened to her story. He looked at the pictures of the broken drone and the video on Kelly's phone. Officer Miller told her that this was mostly a civil matter, which meant the police couldn't just arrest Marcus for being a jerk. However, he did say that the sign might count as harassment if it kept happening. When Kelly got home, she saw that Marcus had already put up a new sign. This one was even bigger and said that Buster was a vicious animal. This made Kelly really sad because Buster was the sweetest dog in the world. He just liked to chew things. While she was standing there, another neighbor, Mrs. Gable, walked over. Mrs. Gable was the neighborhood gossip, but she was usually nice to Kelly. She told Kelly that Marcus had been telling everyone at the local coffee shop that Kelly had trained her dog to jump up and snatch drones out of the air. He was telling people she was a tech hater who wanted to ruin his hobby. Kelly knew she had to do something to stop the lies. She decided to use the internet. She went onto the neighborhood Facebook group where everyone posted about lost cats and garage sales. She posted the video of the drone hovering in Buster's face. She didn't say anything mean. She just said, "This is what actually happened. I love my dog and I am sorry the drone broke, but I won't be bullied." Within an hour, the post had 50 comments. Most people were on Kelly's side. They were tired of Marcus flying his drone over their houses, too. One person even said Marcus had flown it near their bedroom window. The neighborhood Facebook group was now like a big bowl of soup that was starting to boil over. Marcus saw the post, and he did not like it one bit. He started typing in all capital letters, calling Kelly a liar, and saying the video was fake news. He even tried to say that Kelly used a special remote to jam his drone and make it crash. Everyone knew this was silly because Kelly barely knew how to use her own TV remote, let alone a high-tech signal jammer. But Marcus wouldn't stop. He spent the whole night posting mean things, which just made him look like a big angry baby to the rest of the town. While Marcus was busy being mad on the internet, Kelly stayed off her phone. She sat on the rug with Buster and gave him a big rubber bone to chew on instead of expensive robots. She felt a little bit better knowing her friends knew the truth, but she was still worried about what Marcus would do next. The man seemed like he had too much free time and not enough common sense. Kelly decided to call a real lawyer this time, not just a friend. She found a man named Mr. Henderson who knew all about neighbor fights and property rules. Mr. Henderson came over the next afternoon. He was an older man with a very fancy suit and a voice that sounded like he was always giving a speech. He walked around the yard and looked at where the drone fell. He looked at the fence and the trees. He told Kelly that in their state, if something flies over your yard at a very low height, it is basically trespassing. He said Marcus was infringing on her airspace. Kelly thought that sounded very cool, like she owned a piece of the sky. Mr. Henderson said that since Marcus was the one who caused the crash by flying badly, he was the one who should be paying for his own broken toy. Then something even crazier happened. A car with a logo on the side pulled up in front of Marcus's house. 2 men in blue shirts got out. They were from the local power company. It turns out that when Marcus was trying to film Buster, he had also flown his drone way too close to the big power lines at the end of the street. Someone had reported him for unsafe operation near utility lines. The men in blue shirts didn't look happy. They spent a long time talking to Marcus on his porch. Marcus wasn't yelling anymore. He looked small and scared. Kelly watched from her window, feeling a little bit of justice in her heart. But the drama wasn't over. Marcus was so embarrassed about the power company visit that he decided to double down on his war against Kelly. That evening, he didn't put up a sign. Instead, he set up a giant speaker in his yard and started playing loud, high-pitched whistling noises. It was the kind of sound that only dogs can hear really well, and it made poor Buster start howling and hiding under the kitchen table. Kelly felt her blood start to boil. It was one thing to be mean to her, but being mean to her dog was way too far. Kelly walked straight over to Marcus's house. She didn't wait for him to come out. She knocked on his door until he opened it. She told him that if he didn't turn off the noise, she was going to call the animal control office and report him for animal cruelty. She also mentioned that Mr. Henderson, her lawyer, was already writing a letter to sue him for harassment. Marcus tried to smirk, but his hands were shaking. He told her to get off his porch, but he did turn the noise off about 5 minutes later. The neighborhood was quiet again, but the air felt heavy, like a storm was coming. A week later, Kelly got a big envelope in the mail. It was a real court paper. Marcus had actually done it. He was suing her in small claims court for the $2,000. He also added a claim saying that Buster was a nuisance and should be taken away by the city. Kelly felt a cold shiver go down her back. The thought of losing her dog made her want to cry, but it also made her want to fight. She called Mr. Henderson and told him it was time to stop being nice. They were going to go to court, and they were going to bring all the evidence they had. The day of the court hearing was very cloudy. Kelly wore her best dress, and Marcus wore a suit that looked like it didn't fit him right. The judge was a woman named Judge Sarah, and she looked like she didn't have time for any nonsense. Marcus went first. He stood up and talked for 20 minutes. He showed pictures of his broken drone and talked about how much he loved flying. He told the judge that Kelly was a bad neighbor who let her monster dog attack his expensive equipment. He even showed a picture of the sign he made, as if that proved he was right. Judge Sarah looked at the pictures and then looked at Marcus. She asked him one simple question. Why was your drone in her yard? Marcus stuttered. He said he was just passing through. Then Kelly's lawyer, Mr. Henderson, stood up. He played the video from Kelly's security camera. In the video, you could clearly see the drone flying low, zooming toward Buster, and then hovering just inches from the dog's nose. It was obvious that Marcus was trying to scare the dog. You could even hear Marcus laughing in the background of the video because his remote was picking up the sound. The judge's face turned very stern. She watched the video twice. Then she asked Marcus if he had a license to fly his drone for the type of filming he was doing. Marcus said he didn't think he needed one. Judge Sarah told him that he was wrong. She then looked at Kelly and asked if Buster had ever bitten a person. Kelly said no, and she showed a letter from her vet saying Buster was a very calm and healthy dog. The vet also wrote that a dog chewing on a plastic drone could have been hurt by the battery, which could have leaked acid or even exploded in his mouth. The judge didn't take long to make her choice. She looked at Marcus and told him that his lawsuit was frivolous, which is a fancy word for silly and a waste of time. She said that since he was trespassing in Kelly's yard and harassing her dog, he was responsible for what happened to his drone. She told him he wouldn't get a single penny from Kelly. But she wasn't done yet. She also said that because of the video evidence of him being a nuisance, he had to pay for Kelly's lawyer fees. Marcus looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. But wait, there was more. The judge told Marcus that she was going to send a copy of the video to the local police and the FAA. She said that using a drone to harass animals is a big deal, and he might lose his right to fly drones forever. Marcus tried to say something, but Judge Sarah banged her gavel and told him to sit down. Kelly felt a huge weight lift off her shoulders. She wanted to jump up and cheer, but she stayed quiet and professional, just like Mr. Henderson told her to. When they walked out of the courtroom, Marcus tried to sneak away to his car, but a few of the other neighbors were there, including Mrs. Gable. They had heard about the court date and wanted to see what happened. When they saw Kelly smiling, they knew she had won. Mrs. Gable told Marcus that he should think about moving to a house with no neighbors, since he didn't know how to be a good one. Marcus just got in his car and drove away fast, his tires making a loud squealing noise on the pavement. Kelly went home and gave Buster a giant steak for dinner. He had no idea he was a legal winner. He just knew he got a yummy treat. For the next month, things were finally peaceful. Marcus took down all his signs and didn't play any more loud noises. He didn't even look at Kelly's house when he drove by. It was like he had finally learned his lesson. Kelly even bought a new sign for her own yard. It didn't say anything mean, though. It was just a small, pretty sign that said, "Welcome to our home," with a little picture of a golden retriever on it. A few weeks later, a for sale sign appeared in Marcus's yard. It seemed like the embarrassment of losing the court case and being the neighborhood villain was too much for him. Everyone in the neighborhood group chat was happy. They even talked about having a big block party once he moved out. Kelly was just happy that Buster could run around in the grass without a buzzing robot trying to poke him in the nose. She realized that sometimes you have to stand up to bullies, even if it means going to court over a chewed-up piece of plastic. The day Marcus moved out, Kelly sat on her porch again. She watched the moving truck take away his big speakers and his boxes of toys. As the truck pulled away, a small bird flew over her fence and landed on the oak tree. Buster looked up at it, wagged his tail once, and then went back to napping in the sun. The sky was clear, the yard was quiet, and the only thing being chewed in the garden was a very old, very safe tennis ball. Kelly took a deep breath of the fresh air and finally felt like she was home.